Hey, model railroad fans, another day, another week, another structure is complete. And as I explained in the previous video, I really want to get on this area back here, doing some getting it sort of set up the way it's going to be. But before I did that, I wanted to get this little REA Depot built and put into place so that I could see how everything is fitting together and make sure I've got clearances behind it for all the styrofoam. So I got the little depot built this week, pretty much. I've still got to do the cribbing underneath the loading dock area, and this kit didn't come with any kind of floor or anything, so I'll show you a couple of things that I've done here. I'm going to light the interior. I'm going to put some things in there that you would expect to find in a little depot like this. And so, as I explained in an earlier video, I went in and I put up stud walls inside. But what I've also done is pieced out a piece of balsa wood here for a floor. And I'm going to take that balsa wood, I'm going to strip it with some floorboards and stain it, make it look like an old wooden floor. And also, I've taken that same substance here, this balsa, and I'm going to make a foundation for the entire structures, which raises it up just a little bit. So I had already cut these legs for the loading dock. Once I saw it up, I realized those legs just looked too short to me. So this is going to raise it up about 3/8 of an inch or so, and we'll also raise it up to the height of my flat cars and see, right now, without the raised floor under it, let me turn it the right way. Without the raised floor, it just sits a little lower than the rolling stock doors and top of the flat cars. So when I put it on this raised platform, it's just about perfectly even across there. So that's going to give a little more height to the underside of that, and I like that. So I've got enough clearance over here to run. It's not going to be a road back here, but of course we want to be able to access, people need to be able to access the junk on the back of the station there. So little area back there where they can get to it. This is my loading area. The trucks will back up to here. I have some steps that'll come down here and some steps that'll come down here. So I've still got some things to do to this little depot, but it was important that I get the depot in place so that I could see how far I needed to cut back my little hill back here. And so I've cut back on the hill where I think it needs to be. Of course, Earl's oil is pretty much in its spot there where it's going to stay. And so there's going to be a road here that accesses both the REA and Earl's and goes on back here and connects with this dirt road in the backdrop. And this area back in here, I'm just going to leave relatively flat. I've still got 2 or 3 Sierra West structures that are going to go in this area. All this infrastructure over here deals with the mine. And really, in reality, that's what this whole module is about, is servicing this mine back here. There's a few other things on here like Earl's and the REA, but the majority of what goes on back here is mining related. So this week, I'll be doing the final shaping on this area of styrofoam over here. And I think as soon as today, I will start putting some plaster sheets over it and hardening it up a little bit, and the same back there, and just sort of get a rough outline of how this is going to be. And then I'll start adding rock faces and any cribbing or whatever that has to go into this area. But I'm really interested in this little area right here that I mentioned before that I think is going to be a little pool. Not much, just sort of a little drainage pool, and it's going to come under the tracks a little bit. I'll cut down on my fascia up here in the front and make this into just a little bit of a dry creek. It may have a little water in it, but it's not going to be actively running. It'll probably, come off of the hillside there into this area. So these are on the agenda for today, tomorrow, for this week. I'll do a finishing up on this little depot here, and hopefully be getting this end of the layout looking a little better, a little closer to what this end of the layout looks like. None of the layout has an entirely finished area, but doing photography and videos and things like that, I just want to sort of get it where I can do some shots like this without seeing. It looks like it snowed on the mountain, but I want to be able to do, I want to have some angled shots that I can have of actually finished areas, and so this is the next area that I want to get finished. I know I said earlier, a few videos ago, that I was going to be working on the turntable. I still have not gotten to the turntable, and that doesn't look like it's going to be on the agenda for another little while, because I am going to concentrate mostly on that end of the layout for now. So I'm going to set the camera up and let you watch what goes on next. And I've got to strip these trees off and sort of do some final shaping of this mountain, and then I'm going to start laying some plaster cloth across the top of it. Okay, so all I've done is I've just traced the outline of the back side of this topography, and I have cut me a piece of this better styrofoam, and it goes along with the shape of the back side of this, and I will mount this in place. And now what happens is I've got a nice flush backside back here. When I build the next module, I'll cut another piece just like this, so when they butt up against each other, it'll be a nice seam there that hopefully you won't be able to see. And so that's where I am now. I'm going to start mounting this in place and get all the rest of these trees off, and then I'm going to start laying some plaster cloth across this. To catch you up so far with what I've done, this is not the plaster cloth yet. This is just wet paper towels, and what I do is, once I've carved out the general shape that I want out of the styrofoam, I come back in with wet paper towels and just sort of smooth out the transitions where I want them smooth. Some places I'll leave it very, very sharp drop-offs. And these are the places that I'll come in and do some rock faces, like it's been cut into or maybe just weathered away, but more or less just there'll be exposed rocks in some of these places. The other places that I just want it to be a smooth transition, I come in with this wet paper towel right before I do the plaster cloth. Now I know that makes it, it takes the plaster cloth a little longer to dry because of the wetness underneath, but it does work. I used this on my previous layout and it worked. It hardened up just exactly the way I wanted it to. So I've got my wet paper towels in place. Next thing I'm going to do is just overlay the whole thing with plaster cloth. And I'll let that set up for a day or so. And then I'll come back in with Sculptamold and I'll fill in the gaps so that it's a multi-layered process. So this ends up looking like an organic area of ground rather than just a bunch of cobbled together pieces. And I'll make further decisions then as where I'm going to put the sharp drop-offs and where I'm going to smooth it down. And I'll smooth it with that Sculptamold, and it'll start looking like the little hill that I want it to look like. So next step, plaster cloth. so here's how that step finishes out. Again, it's just very preliminary, but this is the base layer of plaster cloth that will start holding this all together and start giving it its shape. This is where my stream is going to come down, so I've made sure to get an indentation all the way up into there, and then it's going to come down and drop off this little lip right there and pool into this area. So I was careful to make that a reality there. This is going to be some sharper cliff faces over here, and right there I'll put some rock outcroppings, and of course this along the front, along the track, is a shear face that's either going to be cribbing or where the rock has been cut into or something. I don't know. I haven't decided on that yet, but this stuff sets up pretty fast. It's not hard enough to put another layer on. I don't want to overdo the wetness, but it's pretty solid now. I came in and I just dug out this little place where the pool is going to go and decided that the stream needs to come on across under the tracks. So what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll build me just a very, very minimal little pier structure in there for the tracks to run over, and then I'll cut down my fascia board here to the outline of that creek. It's not really going to be an active creek. It's more of a dry bed, I think, with maybe just a little pool of water back here. And it's not going to be this big. I cut it out bigger than it needs to be. What I'll do is I'll come in with my sculptor mold and I will taper those edges down, and it's not going to be that deep either, quite. So these edges will be tapered down, and of course this will be rocks right here where the water, some days when it rains, when it gets a little wet season, the water runs down and washes down over the rocks. That's where it stands now. That'll be a fun little project to try to make that look like a believable little water feature on the layout. And everything else is looking good. Well, so I got me some, or I've had these for a while from my previous layout, but I dug out the old rock forms and cast some plaster rocks last night, and just sort of experimenting with where they might go. This is just one of those little hillsides where you have some rock outcroppings. It's not any sheer cliffs or boulders or anything like that, but just some little rock outcroppings that are going to be exposed. And I'll get these set in some plaster and do a little carving around them to make them look like they're organically coming out of the little hillside. And I've got my ties removed from this portion of the rails where I'm going to build just that little section of trestle there across this little creek. Again, this is not a one of those breathtaking major mountain structures with trestles and so forth. This is just a little moment in time where they had to pass through an area, and they did a little carving, maybe a little blasting, and they made these tracks work right around the edge of this little hill here. Well, this is probably my final check-in this week for this video. It's gotten a little long, and I got a lot more to do, so this is definitely going to have to be a multi-video approach to this little mountain hill building. But I've been sculpting and molding rocks and getting them installed, and I've got this little mountain dry stream here that runs up the side and disappears back up in the foliage back there. So that runs across underneath this little small trestle that I've built, runs out here to the edge of the fascia. I got me some talus. All that talus down there is just comes off the molds after you're molding the rocks. I just save all that stuff and put it in a box, and when I get ready to need some talus or something, I just pull out all those little pieces, bits and pieces, almost like shavings, I guess. And that's what I line my creek bed with. And got my rocks coming on around the tracks here. It looks crude right now, but I'll go back and I will go into the cracks of the rocks where the sheetrock putty is exposed, and sort of lighten that up just a little bit once I get the colors on there, the paints and such, and then put some foliage in some specific places, all those little cracks will hide. It comes on around the bend here, and it makes its way down to where the dirt road enters the backdrop. You can just almost start getting a feel for how that's going to expand out here into the backdrop and hopefully just disappear. Also got the depot almost finished. I still got to put some stairs in it, and I got it's sitting up on its foundation like I said I was going to do, and I finished the cribbing underneath the loading platform there. So all that's looking good, and I got the floor installed inside. I don't think I'll take that apart, but I'll show you sometime what the floor looks like inside. So here it is. Next week should be painting these rocks and putting some ground cover up there. I won't be getting to the trees real soon, but we'll at least get it painted and get some ground cover, so when we are doing some shots from this angle and photography from all these angles, we won't have a big white mountain back there in the back. It'll look a lot more natural. So that's what I've been working on mostly this week, and the continuation of this is what I will continue to do next week. So if you like what you see, and like and subscribe, and let's keep enjoying these layouts.